Hi everyone, welcome to The Cutting Room, a geographical oddity and a movie show by All the Right Movies. My name is Luke, and with me are the damn paterfamilias of the movie world, Matt.
Hello.
And Westy.
Hello.
We're in a tight spot on this show as we make our way across the south to bring you the story of the Coen brothers' masterpiece, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? A big win for a big man. Matt, you've got to be happy with that.
I'm delighted with it. Delighted.
Yeah, at last. Very good. Okay, well, as you were the big winner, Matt, do you want to go first? Why are we talking about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
I always find it fascinating when people talk about the Coens and like what their top five are, because they're so eclectic. Each film is so different. If people say the top five, you'll usually have maybe Fargo, Lebowski, No Country in there, in like everyone's top five, but everything else is really up for grabs. And this one is in loads of people's top fives. And I just think it's a really, really interesting one to talk about. It's the first Coen brothers film I saw at the cinema. And to be honest, that first viewing, I was quite baffled because it's such a weird and random mixture of elements, which we'll get into. And I just didn't know what to make of it. But as happens so often, the more I watched it, the more it clicked. And now it's a film I really do love. I was delighted that one of the patrons suggested this and that everyone went for it. So should be a really good one to talk about.
Very much. It was another step for me in completing my love of Coen brothers films about 20 odd years ago. It probably cemented it for me, to be honest. I mentioned on our Fargo podcast that my film entry into the Coens was Fargo, and then I went back to Blood Simple, then it was The Big Lebowski, and then Oh Brother, and then I was all in. From then on, I had a Coens season ticket. I'll see anything they make.
Nice.
On the surface, a period piece based on an 8th century Greek poem is not something that would tickle my interest, really. No 70s, no NYC, no gritty crime drama, no horror. No thanks.
17 minutes too long as well.
17 minutes far too long. And if this was any other director, I probably wouldn't have gone anywhere near it, considering all of those elements. But I was intoxicated by the film from the first watch, and I still am. It's got so much charm and wit and great performances all around. But Clooney playing the goofball is my favourite Clooney of all time.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, amazing. Beautifully shot, and the music that plays such a huge part. It's pretty incredible stuff. That's why I want to talk about it. What about you, Westy?
The same reasons. Let's move.
What he said.
Let's just talk about it. No, Matt, did we not go and see this? Did we not go and see this together? It was the first
beautiful.
Coen brothers film I saw
Possibly,
at the cinema. I think we possibly saw this at the same time, because when you said you were baffled, I remember you being baffled by it. And I was like, that was fantastic. That was so funny. You were like, I don't know if I got that really. It's just a bit all over the place. But yeah, I mean, it's one of their films that's always stuck with me. I absolutely loved it. It was one of them very first, when you see the Coen brothers in the cinema, it was one of them very first visual films. There was Road to Perdition that came out just before this, which was Conrad Hall. And then this was, I think, was the first time I saw Deacon's work on the cinema, on the screen, on the big screen. Wow. And I kind of just wow, that looks incredible. I haven't seen anything look that good. And it's not even his best film that he shot, to be honest. It was just really, really brilliant. Yeah, it's got a real heart to this film. It's just it's impossible to dislike it. You just go through, you just feel better by the end of it. It just takes you through a journey. And even though it explores, all of these really deep themes, there's race in there, there's oppression in there, there's all of these things around this time, but they still make it lighthearted, they make it funny, they make it accessible, they make it really, really watchable. And I don't think I'll ever tire of watching it, to be honest. I watch it again, like right now, and I've already seen it twice today.
Yeah, amazing. So 3 in agreement there, I think.
I'm with you, fellas.
Let's break free of these chains and head out on our Odyssey across Mississippi. In Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, 3 chain gang convicts break free and head out in search of 1.2 million worth of treasure before the area is flooded and the riches are lost forever. Along the way, our heroes meet weird and wonderful characters, have enlightening encounters, and a brush with the inherent evil in man before reaching their destination, which was not what was promised. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was written by Joel and Ethan Coen and based on the Odyssey by Homer. Joel directs and Ethan produces for working title films, Universal Pictures and Touchstone Pictures. Distributed by Buena Vista Pictures, Oh Brother was released on the 22nd of December 2000. George Clooney stars as Ulysses Everett McGill, John Turturro stars as Pete, and Tim Blake Nelson as Delmar O'Donnell in the lead roles, with incredible support from Chris Thomas King, John Goodman, Holly Hunter, and Charles Durnan, to name but a few.
Yes.
As is usual on The Cutting Room, we're going to spend time talking about the director, the writer, the cast. We'll pick out our favourite moments before we individually rate the film out of 10. We'll cover all bases, and we're going to start with the director. Director of Oh Brother Where Art Thou was Joel Coen. However, both Joel and Ethan shared directing and producing duties. Always a favourite with critics. With audiences, they blew hot with Fargo, then cold with The Big Lebowski, before they unleashed Oh Brother. Westy, what do you think of the Coens as directors here?
Just fantastic. Just fantastic. Just such a joy. Like, anytime I see a Coen Brothers film, even them words just fill us with so much like energy, and I just want to see what they're going to do next. Like Matt said, like I was a bit bamboozled by this film until they get on the train and they start like slipping away. Like when Pete slips and then Delmar slips out of the train and Clooney's still giving the speech, and then he lands and he just comes out of the train. I thought, I know exactly what this film is. I am on board. This is brilliant. It's kind of old school comedy with a really cutting edge performance, and the performances that they get out of the actors it's second to none. I don't know anyone else. I just love the sense of humor. I love their style. I love their taste, and I kind of wish that I was as cool as they are. Really, even though they're just a couple of nerds,
a couple of geeks.
Yeah, proper couple of geeks. But I love that. I'd rather look up to people like this who can make something and express themselves in this way, in this art form, like they do. I just think it's why I love cinema. I love that. It just holds you for an hour and 47 minutes, and you're just like, I didn't even think anything could be that funny or that entertaining or that charming or that lovely or that heartwarming. But it is all in one package, and there you go, and then they move on to the next one. But this is one of the very first Hollywood films. This had happened in other countries, where it went through something called a digital intermediate, where they would take the 35mm film, they would scan it at 2K resolution, and then they would do all of the grade digitally on a computer, which kind of is the normal now, really. And Dickens was the very, very, very first person to do it. Everything was a lush green. They said it looked like Ireland, and they wanted it to be this really brown. All these sunsets had all these different pictures. So Dickens said, well, the only way to do it is to do a digital intermediate, which George Lucas kind of pioneered on Phantom Menace. He scanned a lot in at 2K and did a lot of the effects work. But this was the very first film to do it from start to finish, just to work on the color grade, not to work on the visual effects, none of that kind of thing. It was just pure stylistic reasons, and the first film to do it. And then the year after this, I think 50% of Hollywood films went through a DI. That's how important it is.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it went to half the films. And then 70% the year after, and now everyone does it.
I mean, the visuals, they're incredible, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just make so much of the film.
I think this is what I would call pure Coen Brothers, because if you list all the elements that are going on in this film, so like I say, it's based on Homer's Odyssey, but it's in Depression Eve, Deep South. It's about criminals escaping from a chain gang who get mixed up with real life people along the way. It's got musical numbers in it, and it's named after a film within a film from the 1940s.
Yes.
You say to a film fan who directed that based on all that information, they would have to go, well, it's going to be the Coens, isn't it? Because no one else would ever think of mixing all that up. This is what they do, that ability to look at a genre or a piece of written material that's already out there and just spin it off in such a completely random direction. And I think that is probably what threw me at first. And I think because the film is quite episodic as well, it doesn't have that really like strong, punchy narrative. And I can't think of anyone else who would even come close to making our brother like this, of getting all those random elements, that tone, and the whole thing not ending up a complete mess. And that's why it's purely them, because only them, to my eyes, could do this. And what I think is really great about it, and it's very much kind of spinning off what Wesley said there, is how much of a step up this is for them in a visual manner. Because, you know, there were great visuals before, Blood Simple, Barton Fink, they all look great. But this is just big, widescreen filmmaking in a way they've never attempted before. Great location shooting, completely captures the feel of the era. It's so dusty, it's so dry, you can feel like the heat baked into the screen. But also it's how they put all the slapstick together on screen. That amazing opening shot that pulls over the train and then they're running alongside it. And I just love the framing when Clooney pulls himself up into it and he's framed with the open door behind him. And you can see Tim Blake Nelson getting himself in there, struggling. But then Turturro loses speed and he yanks Clooney out of frame. And then he goes out of the frame of the door again. And that's just like on a level that they've never done something like this before. I think it's incredible. So, yeah, I think only the Coens could have done this, but it's also the most ambitious thing they've done from a visual point of view. And it just feels really effortless to me. It's just brilliant work.
I think quite surprising as well is quite a bit of CGI, well, you know, limited, but from a Coen Brothers film, you wouldn't expect it. CGI work in the film, particularly the cows which they got a lot of heat from the American Humane Association because they thought that real cows were being ran over and shot at in the Babyface Nelson segment, not the livestock. Hilarious.
They had all them cows on file. It's the same company that did the effects for Lake Placid. Do you remember when the cow gets eaten by the massive alligator?
All right.
It's the same ones. They've got them on file, so they used exactly the same cow. But they were like, it looks real. When he shoots it, that's awful.
Does look real.
It's horrible.
It is horrible.
Yeah, it is.
It's when it gets run over.
I know.
It's brutal. The camera stays there. It's great.
It kind of rocks on itself. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Not the livestock.
Not the livestock. Oh, George, not the livestock.
He's horrible, George. Like,
hand me that chopper. He's fantastic.
Give me that chopper.
really insecure, man.
He's great.
She didn't mean anything by it, George.
George Nelson, not Babyface.
I want to talk about the music in the film. The soundtrack, obviously, was a juggernaut. I mean, it probably became more famous than the film itself.
Yeah, it did.
Became the first soundtrack ever to win a Grammy Award for Best Album of the Year. And it sold over 8 million copies in the US alone.
Wow.
And I can understand why, because it's magical. It's irresistible music.
T-Bone Burnett.
It's
amazing.
fantastic.
Yeah.
T-Bone Burnett.
Yeah.
Early century folk and gospel, probably not high on music lovers' lists in the new millennium, but it just shows that good music endures. And like you said there, Westy, T-Bone Burnett needs a lot of credit here because he worked with the Coens to curate the music, and he has done that. He's a frequent collaborator with them.
Yeah.
And it can't really be overstated how popular that soundtrack was, specifically in creating the boom in roots Americana music that can still be felt today. And it all stems from this.
Yeah.
But it's not just the soundtrack, it's the musicality in the film and the rhythm of it. Like the dialogue, I feel, has a musical quality to it.
Nice.
Like the blind seer on the hand pump card at the start of the railroad. I work for no man. I have no name.
Yeah.
There's a distinct rhythm
See
to
a
it.
cow on the roof of a cotton house.
He's fantastic.
But he is
Really
moving
makes
in a
him
rhythm as well. He's kind of
Exactly,
like,
he is,
and there's this whole thing. The whole film's just like you're sat on that thing and you want to go faster, but it's not letting you. It just kind of takes you through it to that
that's
rhythm.
the rhythm of the film.
It is amazing.
And I think the Coens seem to be fascinated. We mentioned similar things on Fargo. They're fascinated with intonation and accents and give even minor characters a specific identity, like Pete's cousin and his son.
Yes, sir. Daddy told me I'm to shoot who's ever from the bank.
Different Judas Iscariot, hog wallop, hilarious when Pete calls
When he's kicking off at him.
I'm gonna kill you, Judas Iscariot, hog wallop.
The chain gang at the start slam their picks into the rocks in a rhythmic way, just like the sirens when they're washing their clothes.
Yeah.
And actually that song, the chain gang song, was at the start called Poor Lazarus. It was a real recording of real prisoners in 1959, and the Coens tracked down one of the singers that was on the recording and paid him like $20,000 to like for the rights to the track. Amazing. And the sirens were dubbed by the voices of Emmylou Harris, Alison Krauss, and Gillian Welsh. If you're going to be dubbed by the best.
That's it. Yeah, that's a top three right there. Amazing.
Great.
Yeah.
And the grave diggers in that scene right at the end, they're an actual vocal group called the Fairfield Four. And they'd been around for like 80 years. Well, I mean, obviously not with different members. They weren't over 100 years old apiece, but they'd been around. They'd been a group for 80 years.
Yeah.
And a nice nod to their old pal, Sam Raimi. Everett's house that they go to right at the end is based on the cabin in Evil Dead.
Evil Dead, nice. Oh, I love that.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Love it when Tommy just turns up on the roll top desk. It's so great.
Yeah.
What you got there, Tommy?
Roll top desk. Yes.
It's great. I love it when the coffin just darts out of the water. Great visuals.
Yeah.
So with a great sense of location and period, the Coens stuffed O Brother with incredible visuals and outstanding music.
Yes, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And we've come to the end of part 1. Come back for part 2, where we've got loads more to get into on O Brother, Where Art Thou?